Tai-Ho Kim pulled his worn jacket tighter as he walked through the busy market of New Busan. Cold air blew through the metal walls of the space station. The smell of engine oil mixed with alien food made his nose wrinkle. He had only 50 credits left in his pocket, barely enough for a week's food. Last chance, he muttered to himself. Find something good or go hungry. Tai-Ho was a salvager. He bought broken ships and fixed them up to sell. Usually, he made enough money to live. But his last 3 finds had been worthless junk. Now he was desperate. At the far end of the market, away from the bright lights and loud sellers, he spotted an old man with a dirty beard. The man sat beside what looked like a pile of burned metal. A small sign read, "Alien Tech, 50 credits." Tai-Ho laughed. 50 credits for that mess. You must be joking, old man. The seller, who called himself Mock, smiled with yellow teeth. Not joking. Found it floating near the dark sector. Strange energy readings. Ship looks dead, but something inside still works. Tai-Ho walked around the wreckage. It was small for a ship, maybe 15 feet long. The outside was black with burn marks. Parts of it had a strange shine, like fish scales in certain light. Tai-Ho had never seen metal like that before. What kind of ship is it? He asked. Mock shrugged. No idea. Nothing human-made, that's for sure. Maybe from the outer rim. Those scale-like parts are weird. Never seen anything like it in 30 years of trading. Tai-Ho pulled out his scanner, the one good tool he still owned. He ran it over the wreckage. At first, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the scanner beeped loudly. The energy reading was off the charts. That can't be right, Tai-Ho whispered. He hit the scanner against his palm and tried again. Same reading. Something in that pile of junk was putting out more energy than a small fusion reactor. If he could figure out what it was, he might be able to sell it for thousands of credits. 50 credits, you said. Tai-Ho tried to sound bored. 50 credits. Mock nodded. Take it or leave it. Got other buyers coming later. That was a lie. Tai-Ho knew. Nobody wanted this junk. Except now he did. Deal. Tai-Ho handed over his last credits. Mock counted them quickly, then helped load the wreckage onto Tai-Ho's hover cart. Good luck, Mock said with a strange smile. You might need it. Tai-Ho pulled the cart through the crowded market, ignoring the looks from other traders. They thought he was crazy to buy such junk. Maybe he was. Back at his small workshop, Tai-Ho unloaded his purchase. Under the bright lights, he could see more details. What he thought were burn marks actually seemed to form patterns. And the scale-like parts weren't metal at all. They felt warm to the touch. What are you? He whispered, running his fingers along the strange surface. He connected a power cable to what looked like an input port. Nothing happened. He tried another spot. Still nothing. After 3 hours of work, Tai-Ho sat back, frustrated. He couldn't find any way to power up the ship or open its hull. The scanner still showed massive energy inside, but he couldn't access it. Last 50 credits wasted, he groaned. I'll have to sell my tools next. Tired and hungry, Tai-Ho decided to try one more thing. He found what looked like a small panel and pressed it hard. The workshop lights flickered. The wreckage shuddered. And then, to Tai-Ho's horror, it began to move on its own. Metal plates shifted. The scale-like patches expanded. What he thought was the front of the ship opened like a mouth, revealing rows of crystal teeth. 2 enormous eyes, glowing purple in the dim light, fixed on Tai-Ho. Human. A voice boomed inside his head. You dare to purchase me? Tai-Ho fell backward, knocking over his tool cart. Metal spanners crashed to the floor. The voice in his head was so loud it made his ears ring. I ask you a question, human. You dare to purchase me? The voice boomed again. The mass of metal and scales continued to change shape. What Tai-Ho thought was a small ship now grew larger. The walls of his workshop groaned as something pushed against them. Metal plates shifted like muscles under skin. The scales, now clearly scales, not metal at all, flashed with purple light. I thought you were a ship, Taiho managed to say. His voice shook with fear. What are you? The creature stretched out, becoming longer and more serpent-like. 6 limbs unfolded from its body, 4 with clawed hands and 2 that looked like wings. Its head was massive, with those glowing purple eyes and a mouth full of crystal teeth. I am Rai, last of the Volcaric space dragons, the creature said, its voice slightly quieter in Taiho's mind. And you, tiny human, have woken me from my healing sleep. Taiho's workshop was much too small for a space dragon. Tools and parts fell from shelves as Rai's tail knocked against the walls. A pipe burst, sending steam into the air. I'm sorry, Taiho said quickly. I didn't know. The man who sold you to me. Sold? Rai roared, making the lights flicker again. I am not property to be bought and sold like your human goods. The dragon's anger hit Taiho like a physical force. He saw flashes of memory, a battle in space, energy weapons firing, Rai wounded and escaping, then hiding in deep sleep that made him look like a ship. Pirates, Rai growled. They attacked me near the dark sector. I was wounded. Had to enter hibernation mode. My outer shell takes on a protective form when I sleep. They must have found me and brought me here. Taiho tried to think clearly despite his fear. Look, I didn't know what you were, but I spent my last credits on you. I thought you were valuable tech I could fix. The dragon's eyes narrowed. Fix me? You think you can fix me, human? I'm a salvager, Taiho explained. I repair broken things. My scanner showed you had energy, but were damaged. Rai went quiet for a moment. The dragon seemed to be thinking. Show me this scanner, he demanded. With shaking hands, Taiho picked up his scanner from the floor and held it out. Rai leaned his massive head closer, making Taiho flinch. Primitive tool, Rai said, but not entirely useless. It detected my core energy. The dragon pulled back. You say you fix broken things. Taiho nodded nervously. Then perhaps you might be of use after all. Rai's tone changed slightly. I am, not at full strength. The pirate attack damaged some of my biological systems. I cannot travel far in space without repairs. I don't know how to fix a space dragon, Taiho admitted. No, but you have hands that can follow instructions, and a workshop with tools. Rai looked around the small space. Though we will need a larger place. A loud banging came from the door. Kim, what's going on in there? The whole building is shaking. It was Taiho's neighbor. Rai's eyes flashed. We must leave. Now. I will not be seen by more humans. But where can we go? Taiho asked. You can barely fit in here, and you're hurt. The old mining tunnels beyond the edge of the station, Rai said. I can sense they are empty now. Big enough for me. Taiho realized he had little choice. Fine, but you have to promise not to eat me. For the first time, something like amusement flickered in the dragon's eyes. If I wanted to eat you, tiny human, I would have done so already. Now gather what tools you can carry. You belong to me now. I don't belong to anyone. Taiho protested. You purchased me with your last credits, Rai said. Now I purchase you with your life. Seems fair, does it not? The banging on the door grew louder. Fine, Taiho said. But this is a partnership, not ownership. Rai made a sound like grinding metal. A dragon's laugh. We shall see, human. We shall see. The abandoned mining tunnels were cold and dark. Water dripped from the ceiling. The only light came from Rai's glowing scales, which cast purple shadows on the rough walls. This is acceptable, Rai said, his voice echoing in the huge empty space. Taiho set down his bag of tools and looked around. The tunnel was big enough for the dragon to stretch out at least, but it was also wet, dirty, and far from anyone who might help if the dragon decided to eat him after all. So what now? Taiho asked. You said you need repairs. What kind of repairs does a space dragon need? Rai settled on the ground, his wings folding against his body. The pirates used energy weapons that damaged my outer scales. These scales are not just for protection. They help me gather energy from stars and navigate through space. Tai-Ho tried to understand. You're saying you're like a living spaceship? No, human. Ships are poor copies of what my kind naturally is. We Volcarecs were traveling the stars when your ancestors were still living in caves. Rai's voice had a hint of pride. We do not need ships. We are the ships. Tai-Ho walked closer, curious now. How many of you are there? The dragon was quiet for a moment. I am the last, as far as I know. The others were hunted down long ago by races who wanted our power. Despite himself, Tai-Ho felt sorry for the dragon. That's sad. I do not need your pity, Rai snapped. I need your hands and your tools. Some of my damaged scales must be removed so new ones can grow. Like pulling a tooth? Tai-Ho asked. Similar, but more painful. Rai shifted, revealing a patch of dull scales on his side. These are dead. They should shine like the others. They must be removed. Tai-Ho studied the scales. Each was as big as his hand. Won't that hurt? Yes, Rai said simply, but it must be done. The dead scales are preventing energy flow. I cannot heal or regain my strength with them attached. Tai-Ho sighed. Fine, let me get my tools ready. As he sorted through what he had brought, Tai-Ho thought about his situation. He was stuck in an abandoned tunnel with an alien dragon who claimed to be the last of his kind. Everything he owned was back in his workshop. His food and water would last maybe 2 days. I need to go back for supplies, he told Rai. Food, water, more tools. No, Rai said firmly. It is too dangerous. By now, others will know something strange happened in your workshop. I'll starve if I stay here, Tai-Ho argued. Rai's eyes narrowed. You humans are so fragile. Then he seemed to think for a moment. There is a solution. I can place you in a stasis field while I heal. You will not need food or water. Stasis, like being frozen. Tai-Ho did not like this idea. Not frozen. Just paused. Time will not pass for you. It is how I survived space travel between stars. Tai-Ho shook his head. No way. I help you with your scales, then you help me get food. That's the deal. They stared at each other, human and dragon, both stubborn. Finally, Rai made a sound like a sigh. Very well. Help me remove the dead scales. Then I will create a disguise and go with you to get what you need. A disguise? Tai-Ho couldn't imagine how a huge dragon could disguise itself. We Volcarecs can shift our forms in limited ways. I can appear more mechanical. Like your ships, it will drain what little energy I have left, but it should work for a short time. Tai-Ho nodded, relieved. Okay, let's start with those scales then. He picked up a metal lever and approached the dragon's side. Be gentle, Rai said, then added with a growl, or I might change my mind about eating you. Tai-Ho couldn't tell if the dragon was joking. He hoped so. Here goes nothing, he said, and placed the lever under the first dead scale. A sleek black ship entered New Busan's docking bay. It was much nicer than the usual cargo ships and old cruisers. The ship had the symbol of the Galactic Collective on its side, a circle of stars with a hand in the middle. People stopped to watch as the ramp lowered. A tall woman walked down, her uniform crisp and clean. Her black boots made sharp sounds on the metal floor. 4 armed guards followed her. Captain Jinne Park, she said to the dock manager who came to greet her. Sina Species Acquisition Division. I need to speak with your station leader right away. The dock manager looked nervous. Of course, Captain. May I ask what brings the collective here? We're just a small trading post. Jinne's face showed no emotion. We receive reports of unusual energy readings and a possible Class A xenoform. Very rare, Very dangerous. While Jin-A went to meet the station leader, Taiho and Rai were making slow progress in the mining tunnels. After 3 hours of careful work, Taiho had removed 5 dead scales. Each one was heavy and felt like warm stone. Rai had been mostly quiet, only grunting in pain when Taiho pulled a scale free. "That's enough for now," Rai said. His voice in Taiho's head sounded tired. "The new scales will begin to form soon." Taiho put down his tools. His hands hurt, and his shirt was soaked with sweat. "Good. Now about that food." Ray's body began to change. It was strange to watch. The dragon seemed to fold in on himself, becoming smaller and more compact. His wings disappeared into his body. The bright scales dulled to a flat gray. Soon, he looked like a small transport ship with legs. "This is the best I can do," Rai said. His voice was weaker now. "This form uses much energy." "You look like a walking ship," Taiho said. "People will still notice." "Not if we stay in the maintenance tunnels," Rai replied. "Your kind rarely looks up or down. They only see what is right in front of them." They left the mining area through a small service door and entered the station's maintenance tunnels, narrow passages that ran between the walls and floors of New Busan. Taiho had used them before to move salvage without paying transport fees. "My workshop is this way," Taiho whispered, pointing left at a junction. They moved slowly. Rai was much smaller now, but still hard to hide. Twice they had to freeze and wait as repair workers passed nearby. Finally, they reached Taiho's workshop. The door was broken open. Inside, everything was a mess. Someone had searched the place. "Not good," Taiho muttered. "Someone's looking for us." He quickly grabbed a bag and filled it with food packs, water bottles, and more tools. On a screen near his bed, a news report was playing. Taiho turned up the volume. "Strange incident in Section 12 yesterday," a reporter was saying. "Witnesses report unusual noises and energy fluctuations. The Galactic Collective has sent Captain Jin-A Park to investigate possible alien activity." The screen showed a picture of the woman in the black uniform. Her eyes were cold and determined. "We need to leave," Rai said urgently. "That is a hunter." "A hunter?" Taiho asked, still grabbing supplies. "She hunts alien species. For study, for weapons, for control." Rai's disguised form shuddered. "My kind was hunted by people like her, until almost none remained." Taiho looked at the woman on the screen again. Something in her eyes made him believe Rai. "Okay, we'll go. But where? We can't stay in those tunnels forever." "I need to reach the Guyam Nebula," Rai said. "There is something there that might help me, but I cannot travel through space in this condition." "The nebula is 3 systems away," Taiho said. "We'd need a real ship." Rai was quiet for a moment. "There is another way, but you will not like it." "What other way?" Taiho asked, zipping his bag of supplies close. Ray's ship-like form hummed softly. "I can travel through subspace without a ship. It is how my kind moved between stars. But in my current state, I would need to carry you with me. Inside me." Taiho's eyes widened. "Inside you? Like, you want to eat me?" "Not eat you," Rai said with what sounded like annoyance. "I have an inner chamber where small creatures can travel safely. It is how my ancestors carried the first humans to new worlds." Before Taiho could answer, they heard voices in the corridor outside. "The energy signature is strongest here," a woman's voice said. It matched the one from the news report. "Jin-A Park. Break down the door." "We already did, Captain," a man replied. "Place is empty." "Check again, and scan for hidden spaces. If a Volcarex was here, there will be trace energy." Taiho looked at Rai in alarm. "They know what you are." Ray's form shimmered with tension. "This is worse than I feared. We must leave now. If she knows of the Volcarex, she is more dangerous than I thought." Footsteps came closer to the workshop entrance. "No time to argue," Taiho whispered. "How do we do this inside thing?" "Stand still," Rai said. His ship-like form began to change again. A seam appeared along Rai's side, opening to reveal a small space lined with soft, glowing tissue. It looked like the inside of a mouth, but without teeth. "Step in," Rai instructed. Quickly. Tai-Ho hesitated for only a second before climbing into the opening, clutching his supply bag. The space was warm and gave off a soft blue light. As soon as he was inside, the opening closed behind him. "Try to relax," Rai's voice said in his mind. "This will feel strange." The workshop door burst open. Through the thin membrane of Rai's body, Tai-Ho could see blurry shapes enter the room. Then everything blurred as Rai moved. There was a shout, a flash of light. Tai-Ho felt a jolt like electricity through his body. Suddenly, they were moving very fast. Rai had crashed through the wall of the workshop into the main corridor of the station. Alarms began to sound. "Hold on," Rai said. "This will be rough." Tai-Ho felt a pulling sensation, like his whole body was being stretched. Through the membrane, he saw the station walls blur past at impossible speed. People screamed and jumped aside as Rai raced through the crowded main plaza. "Stop that creature," Jin A's voice echoed over the station speakers. All exits locked down. But Rai was not heading for an exit. Instead, he charged straight at a window that looked out into space. "You're going to kill us," Tai-Ho shouted inside his living chamber. "Trust me," Rai replied calmly. Just before hitting the thick glass, Rai's body changed again. The ship-like form expanded, scales brightening. Two wings unfolded and began to glow with intense energy. They smashed through the window. The station's emergency shields activated immediately, stopping the air from escaping. But Rai and Tai-Ho were already outside, floating in the darkness of space. Tai-Ho expected to die instantly, but inside Rai's chamber, he was warm and could breathe normally. "Are you okay, human?" Rai asked. "I think so," Tai-Ho answered, his heart still racing. "We're in space, actual space, without a ship." "I am the ship," Rai reminded him. His wings were now fully extended, glowing like purple solar panels. "I am gathering energy from the nearby star. Soon we can enter subspace." Behind them, ships launched from the station. Small, fast security vessels with weapons ready. "Here they come," Tai-Ho said nervously. "They are too late," Rai replied. His wings pulsed brighter. The space around them seemed to fold. Stars stretched into lines. Tai-Ho felt that strange pulling sensation again, but much stronger this time. And then New Busan, Captain Jin-A, and normal space all disappeared as they entered the swirling chaos of subspace. Subspace was beautiful and terrifying. Inside Rai's protective chamber, Tai-Ho watched swirls of color streak past. The normal rules of space and time did not seem to work here. Sometimes stars appeared to move backward. Other times, they seemed to dance in circles. "How long until we reach the Guyong Nebula?" Tai-Ho asked. His voice sounded strange in the chamber, like he was talking underwater. "3 of your days," Rai answered. "I must travel slowly. My energy is still low." Tai-Ho ate a food pack from his bag. "So we just wait. For 3 days. Sleep if you wish," Rai suggested. "Or we can talk." Tai-Ho thought for a moment. "Tell me about your kind. The Volcarex. You said you helped humans once." The chamber walls pulsed with a soft blue light. Tai-Ho felt a strange sensation in his mind, like a gentle touch. "It is easier to show you," Rai said. "When Volcarex rest, we connect with the minds of those we carry. Close your eyes." Tai-Ho hesitated, then closed his eyes. Immediately, images filled his mind. He saw huge dragons soaring between stars, hundreds of them, their scales shining in many colors. They carried smaller ships made of white metal. "We helped many young species," Rai's voice explained as the images continued. "Humans were special to us. Curious, adaptable. quick to learn. The vision changed. Now Tahoe saw ancient Earth. Dragons descended from the sky. Humans looked up in fear, then wonder. The dragons showed them how to build better tools, how to grow more food. We guided your kind for thousands of years, Rai continued. We helped spread humans to other worlds when Earth became crowded. New images appeared. Volcarex dragons teaching humans to build their first spaceships. Dragons helping humans settle new planets. Then the images darkened. Tahoe saw dragons being attacked by ships with powerful weapons. Saw dragons falling from space, their scales burning. What happened? Tahoe asked, his heart heavy from the sad images. Some humans wanted our technology for war, Rai explained. We refused. The Volcarex were guardians, not destroyers. When we said no, they turned on us. The vision showed more battles. Dragons dying. Others fleeing to distant parts of the galaxy. Not all humans were against us, Rai added. Many tried to help, but the damage was done. Our numbers fell. We scattered. The final image was of a single dragon, Rai, flying alone through empty space. For 500 years, I have not seen another of my kind, Rai said as the vision faded. I began to believe I was truly the last. Tahoe opened his eyes, feeling tears on his cheeks. I'm sorry, he whispered. Humans did this to you. Not all humans, Rai corrected. And it was long ago. Is that why we're going to the Gyayong Nebula? To look for other Volcarex? No, Rai said. I have searched many places already. The nebula holds something else. A sanctuary created by my ancestors. A place where we stored our most important knowledge and tools. Tahoe sat up straighter. What kind of knowledge? How to restore a wounded Volcarex to full strength, Rai explained. And perhaps more. My memories of the sanctuary are old and unclear. I was very young when I last visited with my guardian. Your guardian? Like your human parents, the one who taught me to fly between stars. Rai's voice held a rare warmth. She was wise and kind. She felt protecting me during the first attacks. Tahoe felt a new respect for the grumpy dragon. We'll find this sanctuary, he promised, and we'll fix you. Then Captain Park and her hunters will be sorry they ever chased us. Rai made a sound that might have been a laugh. You are brave for such a small creature, Tahoe Kim. It was the first time Rai had used his name instead of calling him human. Rest now, Rai said. We have a long journey ahead, and I fear the hunter will not give up easily. After 3 days in subspace, Tahoe felt the strange pulling sensation again. Then, with a flash of light, they returned to normal space. The swirling colors vanish, replaced by the breathtaking view of the Gyayong Nebula. It looked like a giant cloud made of purple and blue light. Stars glittered inside it like jewels. Tahoe had seen pictures of nebulas before, but they did not compare to the real thing. It's beautiful, he said, pressing his hands against the inside of Rai's chamber. Yes, Rai agreed. And dangerous. The radiation would kill you in seconds without my protection. The dragon moved slowly, his wings extended to gather energy from nearby stars. The new scales where Tahoe had removed the dead ones were growing well, shining brighter than the others. How do we find the sanctuary? Tahoe asked. I must follow the old markers, Rai explained. They are hidden in the energy patterns of the nebula itself. Only a Volcarex can see them. They moved deeper into the colorful cloud. Rai seemed more alert now, his movements more certain. Tahoe felt hopeful for the first time since this adventure began. Then Rai suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Tahoe asked. Something is not right, Rai said. His voice sounded tense. The markers are too easy to follow. They should be fading after all this time, but they are clear and strong. Before Tahoe could respond, a bright light flashed from inside the nebula. A net of energy appeared around them, glowing with the same color as the weapons that had been used on the station. It's a trap, Rai roared, trying to turn away. More energy nets appeared, surrounding them from all sides. Through the walls of Rai's chamber, Taeho saw ships emerging from the nebula. They had been hiding, waiting. The biggest ship had the Galactic Collective symbol on its side. How did they find us? Taeho asked, panic rising in his chest. They knew where we were going, Rai said bitterly. Someone has been here before us. Someone has found the sanctuary and used it to set a trap. The energy nets tightened, making Rai roar in pain. His wings folded as he lost the ability to maneuver. What do we do? Taeho asked desperately. I must release you, Rai said. If they capture me, you might still escape. No, Taeho shouted. I'm not leaving you. A voice boomed from the lead ship, so loud that Taeho could hear it clearly inside Rai's chamber. Attention Volcaric specimen and human companion, Captain Jin A. Park's voice said. You are now property of the Galactic Collective. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Rai growled. I will never be property again. With a mighty effort, the dragon released a pulse of energy from his scales. The nets flickered but held firm. I can't break free, Rai admitted. My strength is still too low. Taeho thought quickly. The sanctuary. Is it close? Yes, Rai said. Very close. But what good is that now? Take us there, Taeho said. Full speed. Use all your energy if you have to. It would likely kill us both, Rai warned. The nets are designed to tighten if I struggle. They will cut through my scales. Taeho made his decision. Let me out. I have an idea. Reluctantly, Rai opened a small opening in his side. The chamber walls parted just enough for Taeho to squeeze through, wearing the emergency spacesuit Rai had created for him from modified scales. What are you doing, human? Rai asked as Taeho floated next to him. Instead of answering, Taeho turned to face the lead ship. He activated his suit's communication system. Captain Park, he called. I am Taeho Kim, citizen of New Busan. I wish to speak with you before anyone gets hurt. There was a pause. Then Jin A's voice came again. Speak, citizen, but be aware that nothing you say will change the outcome. The Volcarex is too valuable to release. Taeho took a deep breath. It was time to show that humans could be more than hunters. Taeho floated in space, facing the massive collective ship. His small emergency suit felt thin and fragile against the vastness of the nebula. Behind him, Rai struggled weakly against the energy nets. Captain Park, Taeho called again. This creature is not just a specimen. He is Rai, last of the Volcarex, a species that helped humans for thousands of years. A small shuttle launched from the main ship and moved toward Taeho. Through its front window, he could see Captain Jin-A sitting straight and proud. The Volcarex are dangerous, her voice replied over the communication system. Their power is too great to be left unchecked. The collective will study this specimen and use its abilities to protect humanity. The shuttle stopped a safe distance from Taeho. A beam of light scanned him. You are not armed, Jin-A observed. You are either very brave or very foolish. I'm a salvager, Taeho said simply. I fix broken things. I don't destroy them. Jin-A's face appeared on a small screen on his suit's arm. Her expression was cold but not cruel. I was like you once, she said. I believed aliens could be our friends. Then raiders from the outer rim killed my family. I learned that power must be controlled. And the Volcarex have too much power. Taeho looked back at Rai, then at the ships surrounding them. He made his choice. If you want him, you'll have to take me too, Taeho said, moving back to float directly in front of Rai. I won't let you hurt him. Jin-A's eyes narrowed. Move aside, citizen. This is your final warning. No, Taeho said firmly. Humanity's strength isn't in weapons or control. It's in compassion. In fixing what's broken, not breaking what's different. Something flickered in Jin-A's eyes. Doubt, perhaps, but her voice remained hard. Capture them both, she ordered. More energy nets shot out from the surrounding ships. Taiho closed his eyes, expecting pain. But instead, he felt a strange warmth surrounding him. He opened his eyes to see Rai's scales glowing brighter than ever before. The dragon had somehow extended his energy field to protect Taiho. "What are you doing?" Taiho asked, amazed. "You'll use up all your energy." "You stood for me," Rai said, his voice strained but determined. "No human has done that in 500 years. The dragon's whole body began to pulse with light. The energy nets started to break apart. The nearby ships backed away as the radiation levels rose. "Impossible," Jin-A whispered over the communication line. "His power readings are off the scale." A wave of energy burst from Rai, pushing away all the ships and nets. The nebula itself seemed to respond, swirling faster around them. "Taiho," Rai called. "Look." Directly ahead, the nebula was changing. A section of space folded open like a door, revealing a hidden pocket inside. Within it floated what looked like a massive crystal sphere, miles across. "The sanctuary," Rai breathed. It was here all along, hidden in a pocket of folded space. The dragon grabbed Taiho gently with one clawed hand and surged forward into the opening before the collective ships could recover. Inside the hidden space, the radiation and chaos of the nebula vanished. It was calm and silent. The crystal sphere pulsed with a soft light that felt ancient and alive. "What is this place?" Taiho asked in wonder. "Not what I expected," Rai admitted. "This is not a technology repository. This is." He fell silent as they drifted closer to the sphere. Inside, Taiho could now see shapes. Round objects, dozens of them, floating in a glowing liquid. "Eggs," Rai whispered, his mental voice filled with shock and hope. "Dragon eggs, in stasis, preserved for millennia." Taiho stared in amazement. "You're not the last one." "No," Rai said, his voice breaking with emotion. "I am not the last." A deep hum filled the space. The crystal sphere began to open, sections of its surface peeling back like flower petals. Behind them, at the entrance to the pocket of space, the collective ships had regrouped. Jin-A's shuttle hovered at the threshold, watching. The crystal sphere opened completely, bathing Taiho and Rai in warm golden light. The dragon eggs floated gently in the center, each one bigger than Taiho himself. They pulsed with a faint inner light, showing they were alive after thousands of years in stasis. "They are waiting," Rai said softly, "waiting for the right conditions to hatch." Taiho stared in wonder as one egg drifted closer to them. Its shell was transparent enough to see a small dragon curled inside, perfectly formed but sleeping. "Can they be awakened?" he asked. "Yes," Rai nodded, "but they will need a safe place. And guardians." A sound behind them made them turn. Captain Jin-A's shuttle had entered the hidden space. It floated just inside the entrance, weapon systems active but not firing. "What will you do now, Captain?" Taiho called over the communication system. "Will you try to take these eggs too? Turn baby dragons into weapons." For a long moment, Jin-A was silent. Then her face appeared on Taiho's suit screen again. Her expression had changed. There was uncertainty in her eyes. "The Volcarex were guardians once," she said quietly. "That's what the old stories say. Before the wars, before the fear." "Yes," Rai answered, his voice reaching both humans. "We protected many young species, including humans." Jin-A looked at the eggs, then back at Rai. "If they hatched, would they be peaceful, or would they seek revenge for what happened to their kind?" "That depends on what they learn," Rai said. "Like human children, they will become what they are taught to be." Inside the shuttle, Jin-A seemed to be fighting an inner battle. "Finally," she sighed. "What you said earlier," she spoke to Taiho, "about humanity's strength coming from compassion, not control. My parents believed that too, before they died." Taiho nodded but said nothing, letting her work through her thoughts. "I can't let you take the eggs. Jin-A said at last. The collective would never allow it. Tai-Ho's heart sank. Rai's scales darkened with anger. But Jin-A continued, surprising them both. I could fail to find anything in this section of the nebula. Equipment malfunctions happen all the time in radiation zones. She pressed some buttons in her shuttle. On Tai-Ho's arm screen, a map appeared. This route will take you beyond collective space, Jin-A explained, to the free world sector. My ships will report that you were destroyed in the nebula. Tai-Ho could hardly believe what he was hearing. Why would you help us? Jin-A looked at the dragon eggs again. Because extinction is forever. And because I'm tired of living with hate. Rai moved closer to the shuttle, his massive head level with its viewport. Thank you, human hunter. Perhaps there is hope for our kinds after all. Jin-A nodded once, then turned her shuttle around. You have 30 minutes before my report goes out. Make them count. After she left, Tai-Ho and Rai worked quickly to gather the eggs. The crystal sphere seemed designed to release them, settling each one gently into Rai's care. Where will we go? Tai-Ho asked as they prepared to leave. I know of a planet, Rai said, rich in the minerals and energy the hatchlings will need. Far from busy space lanes, we can make a sanctuary there. We? Tai-Ho raised an eyebrow. Rai actually made a sound like a laugh. You didn't think I would let you go, did you? These young ones will need to learn about humans. Who better to teach them than you? Tai-Ho smiled as he settled into Rai's protective chamber. The eggs were secured safely in special compartments that had formed in the dragon's body. From salvager to dragon keeper, Tai-Ho mused. Not bad. As they left the nebula, following Jin-A's secret route, Tai-Ho thought about how strange life was. He had spent his last 50 credits on what he thought was junk, and ended up with a grumpy alien dragon, and a future he never imagined. One by one, the eggs began to glow brighter in their protective cases. The first of a new generation of Volcarex was waking up, and this time, humans and dragons would start their story together. The end.